So, you're gonna be my new Padawan, huh? Well, I can't say that I'm not impressed. Yeah, the Jedi Council basically assigned you to me, and now I'm stuck with you. Yeah. Not gonna lie, when I became a Jedi Master, I'd figured, well, maybe they'll have me work on a few things here and there and not give me a Padawan to work with. Not that I have anything against you, it's just. How do I put this? Well, before I became a master, similar to you, I was a Padawan and an apprentice of sorts. So, when they told me that you were going to be my new pupil, I was just like, why me? I mean, granted, there are some things I agree with the Jedi Knights with, and the Jedi Masters, as well as the Council, but there are some things that I noticed have been a little off. Yeah, believe it or not, you're actually dealing with a bit of a gray Jedi, someone who doesn't necessarily follow the actual path of the Jedi Code, but who does understand the kind of concept of absolutes. Well, for example, love. You can easily love anyone, I think, but it's when it consumes you that becomes the issue. So, do I have any issues of you dating? Pfft, no. I mean, if I'm going to be honest with you, if I think that you can get in touch with the Force while still balancing everything, and I mean like full balance, like love should not consume you, just like anything else shouldn't. You should be basically neutral. And I think that's kind of one of the reasons why so many of the Jedis were not, how do I put this, chained down with marriage. Yeah, I mean, I could basically phrase it a different way, but why would I? Yeah, I'm unapologetic like that. So if you want to date, be my guest. But unfortunately, the council expects me to train you and to also help you out in your journey. Yeah, I think the whole forbidden thing of like, oh, Jedi should never date. I mean, just between us, I've seen some of those masters with SOs by their sides, whether it be men, women, I don't judge. But here's the thing. I mean, then they come to us and they say, no, you can't. And I'm like, well, why not? And they would just say, well, it's part of the code. I'm like, I literally just saw you walking out of a bar with a woman holding you up with her. Yeah, I probably should stop there. Long story short, there was like a lot of vomiting. I'm surprised how little some of those Jedis can actually take their alcohol or booze. But that's beside the point. Yeah, you're not gonna drink. Oh yeah, the Jedi mind trick. Yeah, it's just basically a force of will. Oh yeah, a lot of people think that there's like this deeper rooted issue, but for some it's just as simple as just who has the stronger will. For example, if you were to basically do that whole thing that you heard many of those, what do you call those? Yeah, Yeah, exactly. You notice how they always say, like, these aren't the droids you're looking for. Yeah, if you tried that with the Jedi Master, they would just look at you like, what are you on, and where's your master? Yeah, I'm not exactly thrilled to basically be training you, but, I mean, it's neither here nor there. Am I gonna go against the council and not train you? Pfft, no. Well, for several reasons. They could revoke my masterhood, and I would basically be an apprentice again. Where's my master? Good question. Last I heard, they got reassigned to a new apprentice. It just seems to be a reoccurring theme. It's, master and apprentice just going back and forth, back and forth. We always just seem to come in twos. Not that I'm complaining per se, it's just, okay, look. If I train you a little bit in force magic, which, yeah, I think that's probably the best way you can describe it, just like as a certain form of magic. Well, I mean, how else would you describe it? Show off. Again, okay, we're gonna set some rules down, just to kind of establish everything, okay? I don't want you referring to me as master. Well, I have my reasons. Well, for starters, you will be my first pupil, and I will have to train you in the way of the Force, as well as how to fight. Because there is inevitably going to be times where you are unfortunately going to have to fight. Why unfortunately? There's always a victor and always a loser. It's just that simple. In any situation you're going to find yourself in, you're going to be in a time where you're going to have to fight. Now, I always recommend this as a last-ditch effort, and only to be used as a last resort. Why? Well, for starters, how do I put this delicately? If you were to basically get into every fight that you came across, statistically speaking, you would basically fail at least one of them, right? Exactly. So the first option should always be to run. If you feel that you cannot take on this individual, there's no shame in running. Especially when we're on missions. It's just that simple. The mission takes priority, but in a, fight or flight situation, always choose flight. Because in the end, if you can basically go about the mission without resorting to violence, you should. Now, I'm not saying I'm not going to train you in the way of using a lightsaber. But I just figured to at least let you know. How many fights have I been in? About a dozen. Yeah, I really take that fight or flight scenario to heart. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here teaching you, wouldn't I? So yeah, rule 1, you're not going to refer to me as master. Unless if we're like in some events where you're going to have to refer to me as master, unfortunately, but it's beside that. Okay, rule 2. If you are ever in a relationship and I catch them, I will turn the other cheek. I will not report you. I won't do anything like that. But I'm going to ask you to at least be a little bit subtle about that. Up. You're saying gross now. But just wait. like everyone else, they too will go through the emotions. Rule 3. We are going to be traveling a lot, so be expected to pack light and only the essentials. Things that you absolutely need. So in other words, no tinkers, no like gadgets or gizmos, nothing that, in a heartbeat you could easily replace. Okay? Sentimental value? Well, it depends on how big it is. If it's bigger than you, it can basically be left behind. Pictures of your family. I see no objection there. Do you miss them? Yeah. Me? Oh, I was an orphan. My parents died quite some time, actually. I think I was like maybe a few years younger than you were. Yeah, the consul found me, and I was a little starving kid, so they gave me food and shelter, and they taught me the way of the Force. Granted, whether or not I became a Jedi was to be remained unseen at that time. But when I basically learned the ways of the Jedi and even the history of the Jedi, how the whole Kyber saber crystals, yeah, I know a little bit of the history of that. Nothing major, but I do remember we used to actually carry around actual swords, like not lightsabers, like actual blades. I know, right? Yeah, when I found that out, I was just like, hey, is this true? And they just said yes. But with times, things change and yada, yada, yada. I know I'm kind of giving you the TLDR, but, we'd be here all day of me basically explaining the lore of, the history of the Jedi and the Council and the ways of the Jedi, which obviously we'll have plenty of time to do that, but it's neither here nor there. What do I plan on doing with you? Well, I don't want to refer to you as a Padawan, and I especially don't want to refer to you as like my apprentice, even though that's kind of your title right now. I don't know. I guess I'm just going to be winging it with you. Yeah, I'm going to make mistakes. That's just life, Any other rules? Yes. When I tell you something and say to obey, or more specifically to tell you something that I believe is important, and I tell you, listen to me. Understand, I'm not just doing it for my own health. Yeah, you may be my Padawan, but I worry about you, okay? Yeah, don't let it go to your head, okay? I'm not gonna get fully attached to you. Even if I was, I'm not gonna mourn you if something were to happen, as I expect you to do the same if something were to happen to me. Okay. So I guess we're stuck with each other for now. Well, might as well get a move on. Yeah, we're moving now. What, do you think I was bluffing?